Hey everybody, thanks for joining me. My name's Fergie and I'm a UX designer. So this video is what would have been my first Behance livestream, but unfortunately, due to far too many technical issues, that video is gone. It is gone. If you follow me on Instagram, you will have already seen a post in my stories explaining everything that went wrong. But basically, what it came down to is I'm not in my apartment, so I have a lot less control over things compared to what I would have usually. I tried and tested everything at home, and now I'm not at home. Of course, everything went a bit squiff, a bit haywire, and a bit out of control. So I'm recording this video so that I can share with you everything that would have been on the live stream, and still give you the insights, the knowledge, and take you through designing this project with me. So let's get into it. So the first thing I was showing you on the live stream was that you would have seen on my accounts I've been making these sort of Glassmorphism bank cards. So I'm going to take you through making those. And then what we'll go into after that is redesigning an app that I created 2 weeks ago and wasn't quite happy with the UI. So I'm really glad that I didn't put it out or launch it anywhere because it's going to look way better with Glassmorphism. Let's get to it. I have on my website an Adobe Xd file that you can download to get started with that has one of these cards as a demo, so you can investigate it and see how it works and then apply it to your own projects. So don't forget to go and get it there. It's on my website, fergie.design. So let's recreate this. And I'm going to use this as a reference and just do it all over again so you can actually see me do it properly this time. What I'm going to do is just use the rectangle tool and I'm going to draw a card. And I'm going to make it kind of roughly 400 by 250, and I'm going to round the corners out to be a bit more bank card like. And next thing I'm going to do is add our bank card number, so 16 numbers. Just going to do it quite randomly. There we go, we have a bank card number, and because I want it to be I want it to be white, so let's turn down the transparency of that so we can see what we're doing. I was using a font called Sensation. Love that font, love the name, it's so clever. And what I'm going to do is just center this on our card here. Next thing I'm going to do is add an expiry, and that can be somewhat smaller because it's not the main piece of information on the card. So expiry 0222, and then I'm going to just add a name. Oops, let's left align first, keeps everything neat and tidy. Not too worried about spacing on this because it's just a graphic. And the next thing I'm going to do, let's just group those together, is create these circles. So let me copy this one just so I can show you. It's literally just a circle that I've drawn with the ellipse tool, and I've added a radial gradient. And you'll see what that does is it gives the illusion of light and shadow. So we'll draw another one over here. Actually, I want it to be a fair bit bigger. I'm going to turn off the border and I'm going to give it a radial gradient and add some colour. Maybe a kind of purpley shade. Kind of XD. No, it's not quite XD pink, is it? Something like that. And then instead of it being from the middle to the outer edge, what I do is just move that extend it down, and that shows the travel of light, the light direction with that shape. So let's go ahead and make a few copies and make them all different sizes. Let me just hold down the Shift key to keep the constraints. And let's change the coloring of this a little bit. Let's make it more towards the green, so maybe a lighter blue. Yeah, I think that works. So now what I'm going to do is just group those all together, send them to the back. Just move everything up a little bit. I'm going to create a rectangle. This is just purely for the background. I'm going to borrow that blue color using the eye picker. So you can see we've got all these layers. The layer at the front is our bank card, behind that is our circles, and behind that is our rectangle, which is just a background fill. And you can see through things, but that is purely because there's some transparency on the bank card itself. You turn that up, you lose everything. And Glassmorphism is more than just transparency, right? It also includes blur. So Xd already has this kind of built in for us, and we're just going to tick background blur. See what that did there? Turned it from a solid to being slightly translucent with the blur effect. So then you can use the sliders for the blur amount and for the brightness down here, and just change that to however you prefer it to look. You know, all the way down is obviously off, there's no blur, which just looks transparent. It doesn't look like any sort of Glassmorphism design, because it's meant to look like that slightly frosted kind of glass. So we want it to have some amount of blur, so you might prefer just a small amount. You might want to add a bit more, depending on the kind of drama that you want to go for. And then the brightness, this is what changes kind of the colouring. So brightness obviously is going to increase the white. If you pull it all the way down, I think this is quite interesting actually, you get more of that sort of dark UI that everybody loves. So you can even do almost like a Glassmorphism dark Glassmorphism. I think that would be quite cool. So yeah, I'm just going to add some brightness so that it gives us some of that sort of frosted effect, just like that. And you'll see the border we have on the card, it's not really doing it for us. So I'm going to make it just slightly off-white, and I'm going to bring down the transparency so that it shows us the card has an edge without being quite so harsh. And there we have it. The final touch is just to add our little card chip. So just add a little rectangular shape, pull in those corners, and add a linear gradient. I never like to leave my gradients straight, I prefer to just play with them a little bit more. And there we go, this gives us that nice kind of finishing touch to a bank card. What you might want to do is also add the name of a bank card. So for example, I don't know, let's for example just call it Adobe Bank of Adobe. There you go, that's kind of all the main elements really of a bank card or a credit card. So feel free, I'm going to link to an Xd file that has this in as an example, and you can play with that. Feel free to use it to create anything you want. So moving on, I'm going to use that, I'm going to use Glassmorphism, Morphism? I feel like that's a tongue twister because I've said it far too much. We're going to use Glassmorphism for redesigning this wallet app that I made a few weeks ago, and I've already kind of started just the main intro of it. but let me show you the original. So I mainly created this to start playing around with 3D transform. So I created this, maybe it was more than 2 weeks ago, but it was just after Adobe Max, and I thought this would be just an interesting way of using some of those new features. So I can click on my cards and you'll see they sort of suddenly tilt within that 3D space. And I can swipe through my cards to find the one that I want. I can click on that to see some details. Maybe I need to freeze my card because I've lost it, or it's been stolen. Maybe I want to change my PIN because I've forgotten, or maybe I just need to request a new card. I can see my last transaction, and I can also view all of my transactions. And the cool stuff comes in when I started to play with 3D transform to create a spinning card, manual sound effects. I just really like this. I think it's a really simple animation that's just really quite cool and quite quirky, and allows me to see my security number on the back of my card. What else I did with this design was that I can swipe through all my cards and I have the same panel, the same screen, but the data just changes depending on what card I have selected. So it's just a really easy way for me to swipe back and forth between it all. So that's what I'm looking to recreate. So I created my bank card, and the first thing I did was stack them all up, and then I duplicated the screen to start to create the 3D transform animation, and then separated them out. So we've got the cards, they're going to flip, and then they're going to separate and spread out. So let me show you what that looks like. Let's just move so you can see properly. So I'm going to click on my cards, and you'll see they do that just really elegant twist and fan. Do we call that a fan maybe? So twist and fan, spread out. And the next thing I've been creating, that I created on the failed live stream, which I'll do again now with everybody, was actually this first page to see the bank card / account details for the card that you select. So how I did this was to just duplicate the previous screen. And the reason I do this is because I want to keep everything in the same name groups. I mean, you can just create a new artboard and paste everything over, but I prefer to duplicate the artboard and then delete the things I don't need, or fade them out if there's going to be an auto-animation. Auto-animation. You guys know what I mean. So you can see I have the cards here, and they're all inside a group called Group 455, because on this particular day I was being terrible at naming my layers, but I can't go back and do it now because then I have to rename everything. So best practice, top tip, name your layers so that it helps you work easier, smarter and faster. I normally do that. This was just an occasion where I wasn't. So you can see I have my group of cards being in this kind of fanned out layout to being in a straight line across the top of our screen here. And I'll show you now how I created that. So I basically reset the 3D transformation because I don't want to have any tilt or any angling or any depth perception on these anymore. I want them to kind of go back to normal. And then I simply, let's click on the right layers. I just put them all together, and then one by one I was selecting them and bringing them outwards. So you can see there I have one central card and then the others to the side kind of peeking in, so that the user knows they can swipe between all the different cards. So I'm just going to select this one to copy the sizing, so like 251. So what we want to do here, select these, I'm going to lock the perspective and just make them a little bit smaller to 251. Okay, no, I'm not going to do it that way because as you saw, that did something quite strange with the fonts. So I'll just select the first card here and do it slightly by eye, and then correct it afterwards. So we want 251, 250.01, it's close. Let's just do that. And then I'm just going to come in here to see how everything is aligning and whether it is aligning how I wanted it to originally. So you can see originally all these these edges were lined up, and the name is 30 pixels from the edge, and that's central. So let me just double check. So these and these are the same. I need a little bit of a nudge. A bit too much space here, I think. That was just central. Definitely isn't central. And I'm going to do this. So I think the reason why this got so sort of, let's say, warped, why it lost its positioning, is because I had applied so many transformations to it, I think. Because everything here, you know, seems quite fine. Oh, maybe it's our responsive resize. Let me turn that off. Maybe that will help. So we're going down to 251. Well, actually, no, this one's going to be even smaller. This one at the side needs to be, let's say, 175. Almost 75.4. There we go. So which card are we selecting? We've got Adobe Bank Gold card. Let's make this one for the nest egg card. So actually we're going to reduce this one as well to 175. Because I've already done that, it should just help me by, let's turn that off. It should just help me by snapping with the smart guides. There we go. And then I'm going to give it a distance of 20 in between. Snap those together, give it a distance of 20. Select the card from the bottom, get that to peek out a little bit so I can grab it. Give that 20 in difference, and then again reduce that in size. So this is our card that needs to be 251. I'm going to turn off that responsive resize because I think it was messing with things a little bit. 251. So close. Ooh, so close. It's like a game. There we go. And then I want this card to be central to the artboard. Let's just check. 61, 62. So what I'm going to do is just copy the shape of the card, click out of my group and paste it onto the artboard. So I can use the center align tool. Yeah, that's pretty spot on, so I'm happy with that. Woo! That zoom out was a bit fast. Okay. So we have all of our cards spread out. The next thing I wanted to add is this panel here. So it's quite simply just a rectangle. So I'm going to draw that down here on our artboard. Turn off the border. I was using this dark fill colour that was similar to our background but just a bit darker to give some differentiation. And what height do we need? 478. And I was rounding the corners, I think they were about 80. And you'll notice that rounds all of the corners, so I'm just going to click the control in the inspector panel to separate out all the corners, because the bottom two, I don't want them to have any radius applied because I want them to be really neatly up to the edges. So there you go, that's how I got to this stage, and then it's just a case of adding the details. So what I'm going to do is go up to one of my previously created screens. So we've done those two already. Let's do savings account, that's a nest egg. So we just want to copy these things over, and I'll show you how to draw them as well, but they're simpler, so I'm sure you might already know. My button colour is going to be this really vibrant pink from the ellipse on my intro screens. And actually what I should do is add this into my document assets as a colour. It wants to do some updates. I would rather not. So we've added that colour in, and then what I need to do is just make everything white because it's now a dark UI, so it needs to have the things on top to be white for the contrast. And I need to change things to have the new fonts that I'm using. So I'm using, instead of Josephine Sans, I'm using Sensation. So I'm just going to change all of this to that font. And I'm using a direct select, so I'm holding down the command button on my Mac and just pressing the item I want to select. So that means that even within a group you can just select a thing rather than double clicking down through all the different kind of groupings and layers. Okay, a few more to go. Sensation needs to be white. That one has some transparency. And then these two again. We'll do them both at the same time. So let's talk a little bit through hierarchy. So obviously I have my graphics at the top. This is just a visual cue for the user to see what card account they're looking at based on the card number. You could also change this to be based on an account number. You could also maybe change the color of the cards. I mean, let's have a look and see what that does. If we, instead of having a white fill, if we change this to be a kind of, was it gold or pink, the original one I had? I think it was a peachy color. So if I change that to be peachy, you can see with the background blur effect, it doesn't actually really matter what color rectangle you create. It just automatically makes it more like a regular kind of glass, so it doesn't add any tints or any color. The only thing you can really play with is that brightness between like white and black. So we could create it so that this card is a darker card. Maybe you want to do a black card, you know, like the Amex. Yeah, maybe we can do that on the next screen. That would be kind of cool. So for now we'll leave that as white, but we can't change the color. We could perhaps slightly change the border, but the border doesn't really give off anything to the user. Then in terms of fonts, you'll see I've just applied the same font everywhere. And this is because fonts help give that visual hierarchy and tell you what information is important or different. So I've only used two fonts because the font for the card number, I wanted it to have that sort of visual styling, so that's a font called Factoria. And for everything else, we have just used Soundstation, sorry. So they're the only two fonts I've used. And it's really important to not use too many fonts in your designs because it can become visually quite confusing for users. So, you know, if you had like 4 or 5 different fonts, it all just becomes quite messy. And even if it's on separate screens, so that you only have 1 or 2 fonts per screen, you lose the understanding that the user has already built when they've been using the product so far if things start to change. You know, it looks off, it looks like a mistake almost. So that's why it's really key to just use 2, maximum 3 fonts. I usually try and stick to 2, so you can see that's why I'm just sticking with Sensation at the moment, and then Factoria for our card number, because visual hierarchy is quite important, and informational hierarchy as well. So I don't want to have too many things like really shouting at the user. Having the visual is quite nice, it's a confirmation of what account they're looking at. Then having a large font for the balance of the accounts, then slightly smaller for these different buttons here. These are kind of secondary tasks that they might want to perform, like freezing the card, or requesting a new card if they've lost it or it's been stolen, or changing the PIN if they've forgotten the PIN. My last transaction little subheading here is just showing that that piece of information underneath was your last transaction. It's kind of confirming to the user what that is. And then our main call to action button, which is this bright, vibrant pink, that would then take them to a list of all the transactions that have happened on that account. So that's what we're doing. And that's really how I've been creating these screens. So what I'm going to go back and do now is just add in the prototyping link, because I want it to animate to a different account screen based on the card that the user clicks from this main screen when they're all fanned out. So you can see I've already created those 2 for the Adobe Bank card, the gold card, and then this is our nest egg. So let me show you what this looks like. I'm going to click on the card, and it's so smooth. I'm so happy with how this is coming out, because the reason I fanned out the cards is because I didn't just want them to go into a stack and then kind of split out again. I wanted them to kind of do that almost like floating through air animation into the new position for the next screen. And I did that for all of them. So even though Adobe Bank is one of the first cards in the pile of cards, you can still see they all animate like that, which is still really nice. But I didn't want them to all animate and stack at the top and then spread out. I wanted them to all kind of float up to the right place at the top. Okay, so the last card we have to do is Forex, which is like a foreign exchange card. Maybe you get better rates abroad when traveling. That thing that I miss so much this year. So what I'll do is I will duplicate this screen. So you can either do that by holding down the Option key, or I think it's Alt on a PC, click the artboard and drag it, and it will just make a copy. Or you could also select an artboard and press Command D or Control D on a PC, and that will just give you a carbon copy of what you had there. So let's go ahead and change this to be our final bank card. So first things first, I'm going to make the current main card the smaller size to fit in with the rest. Okay, 20 pixels in between there and there and there. Let's bring these off the screen almost. Then we have this card coming in. Make sure that has the same spacing. And this card has to be, was it 351? 251. So I'm going to go in here, turn off responsive resize. $251. I don't know why I made that such a strange size. I clearly was just doing it by eye. I prefer to, ooh, what did I do? Not 2000. There we go. And things have gone funky again. What happened? Why are things moving around the way I don't want them to? Interesting. Did that happen on the other one we just did? No. Done that one, but I'm pretty sure I needed to have it off. Don't know now. That's quite a strange little blip. I'm going to call it a blip because I don't know if it's right or wrong. It might just be a user error. And what I'm going to do is just quickly refer to these ones for the font sizing. No, that is quite off. I'm just going to rearrange these all so that they're all aligned. I feel like sizing and resizing all of these things has just made them a bit squiff. So that's size 11, size 11, size 10, and size 11. Okay, so that's size 11. This one clearly is not 11. That's 11. That's needs to be 10. And the card number should be 16. So strange. Okay, so center those two. Align those edges. Okay, what spacing did we have going on here? 4, how much from the edge? 36. Okay, so 36 on the edges and 4 in between. Direct select, 4, 25, 31, 2. Oops. Let's make sure we move these all together. 2, 3, 4, 5. And to make it jump 10 pixels at a time, you can hold down the Option and Shift or Alt and Shift and just hit the arrow keys and you'll see that jumps by 10 pixels. So that's actually just quite helpful. Okay, let's double check the chip size. 43 by 37, and this one is 43 by, okay, cool, great. 4 pixels in the space. How many pixels were here? 8. That's what was off. So a lot of the time you can tell by eye when something is not quite right. There we go. Okay, that was more work than it should have been. Now what I need to do is make a copy of the card shape, click away from the group, click on the artboard, and I'm just going to paste that and hit the center align button up in the top right corner so that I can use that to help me align my cards rather than just eyeballing it. It just helps with accuracy a little bit. So for X card, let's change our title down here. And what else do we want to do? We need to change the last transaction, and okay, this is where I have gotten the data back to front, so this is how we're going to fix it. Because I've already animated everything, I'll probably change the names because this should be Forex. And this one I'm going to make current account. Well, we could call it Adobe Bank. I'm sure they won't mind. And then let me change them on here. Forex. Okay, no, hang on. Ah, that's why some of the text was not right aligned. So that is where our issue was coming from before. So now with this one, I'm just going to edit that to be Adobe Bank in the background there. And I'll do the same here. Forex. Okay, same issue. Left align. That's why the responsive resize was making it move and not being in the right place, because the text alignment should have been right aligned and it was centered. So I made a little bit of a mistake there. Okay, so we have all of those corrected. That should just say Forex, not Forex card. Make sure the alignment's right. Gold card could say gold card. Yeah, I'm getting too granular with my changes now. So these are all Forex. This is already animated. So this one we have just created is now the Adobe Bank card. And what I'll do is I'll go and change these cards offline, so you don't have to watch me do that because that's not that interesting. Okay, so the details for Adobe Bank I'm going to copy from here. As before, I'm just going to write in a balance. And this is somebody who has paid me some money, and I'm just going to change that so it's got that little plus, and we'll say they gave me 250. So I have a repeat grid here of transactions, and that's because when I animate to the next screen I want them to kind of open up like a list. So I've got them kind of hidden in this mask for the moment. And keeping this as central as possible. Okay, let's add this one into our prototype. So we've got Forex going there, gold card going there, nest egg savings going there, and Adobe going there. Awesome. Now, something that we might want to add for our user is a way for them to navigate backwards. So let's go ahead and add a back button. I am going to use one of my fave plugins called Icons for Design. That's actually where I got these icons for the snowflake, the avatars, and the bank card. You can just search for anything. There's 5,000 free icons in this plugin, so I highly recommend it. If you don't have it already, you can go to your plugins panel, click on the plus button to discover them, and if you just click on that browse tab and type in icons, all of the plugins that are related to icons creation or libraries of icons will come up here, and you can try them all out, find your favorite. My favorite at the moment definitely has to be Icons for Design, just because there's 5,000 of them. Like, there's icons there that I couldn't find a use for just yet, that I haven't used, that I would love to use. So there's always something there. You don't need to worry about finding a icon library online or anywhere else. It's all built in for us. So let's go ahead, and I'm just going to search for back. This is the one I want. So you can see they're grouped into the icon library that they've come from. So they're sourced from the awesome icons. Some are from iOS. Some are from a pack called Feather. Some are from Google Material. Some are from Windows Metro. Yeah, all sorts. So you'll always find one that you quite like. I really like the iOS back button. I can't lie. I think it's just really simple, clean and effective. So the thing is, it will paste it somewhere on your artboard. So I'm just going to cut and paste that where I need it to be, rather than it being way off in that empty space where we don't need it. I'll select my artboard and I'm just going to hit paste. And let's make it white so it stands out on our interface here. And I'm going to just kind of indent that slightly. Maybe there, is about right. Let's see in preview mode, how does that look? Maybe it's a bit too far from the edge. Yeah, I think that's about right. And in prototype mode, I am going to add a tap trigger, and I'm going to not auto-animate, sorry, I'm going to go to previous artboard. So that means that wherever I navigated to this screen from. I click on the back button and it already knows where to take me back to. I don't need to wire that in. Even better, I can now copy this, select the other 3 artboards, and I'm going to hit paste, and it will paste it on all 3 of them for me in the exact same position, with the prototyping with the back button, back transition automatically. So let's go through and preview what we've done so far. We have our lovely welcome screen. I'm going to tap on my cards. Super smooth transition. I really like that. I'm going to select one. Really nice. Here we go. I can hit the back button. So smooth. So smooth. Let's go to our Forex card. Nice. Okay. So the only thing I want to do next is, let me just organise my artboards. Let's put these in a row so I know these are all the cards. Well, actually I can put them in a row like that. So Forex, after Forex is the gold card, then the nest egg. I just like things to be a little bit organised when I'm working. I find it a lot easier. So, like that. Okay, so this is Adobe Bank card, nest egg card, gold card, this is our Forex, which also helps when, you know, you want to wire up and animate things. I'm just going to put it slightly off like that so I know it's not a full journey. There's a bit of a change, because this way underneath what I can do is animate in the transactions list. So I'm going to go into design mode, duplicate that artboard for the Forex card. I'm going to call it transactions. Naming really is important, so it's a really good habit to get into. And what I want to happen on this screen is for my last transaction to kind of expand and become a list of all my transactions, or maybe my week of transactions that I can look over and check. So how I'm going to do that is firstly I'm going to reduce the size of the card. I think that's what I did before. I made the card a lot smaller, so you can see like over here. Made the card a lot smaller, introduced arrow buttons as a way of navigating. I don't know if I want to do that again. I might just keep the cards in the same kind of row and function and feature and functionality instead of introducing arrow buttons, because I just think it's quite neat that way. So everything goes up, our action buttons disappear, and we get a full list that we can scroll through. So let's do it. Let's reduce the size of our card here. You can see things have gone a bit squiff again. I think I'll just go in and fix that later because it's due, okay. Because things are not aligned the way they should be. So text alignment is actually really quite important when you want to resize something. And I was clearly just, you know, making things any old kind of way, which is really bad of me. Should always do things properly. That's got an extra space we don't need. Okay. This is why it's always good to go and double check. So now I know that earlier, when things were resizing a bit funky, it was my own mistake. It wasn't the responsive resize or anything like that, like interfering. I don't think. So now let's see. Yeah, see how they kept the position a bit better that time? Still not perfect, but Again, it could be because of how I've drawn things. Obviously this, we don't want that to be a circle, we want it to still be rectangular, so I'm just going to edit the corners there. Depending on the size of the card, the this will change. So 4, we just type 4. Alright. And now I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to copy and paste just the card shape. I'm going to center it to the artboard, shift it up out of the way a little bit, and there we go. I'm going to align that bank card so it's still central. I'm then going to pull up this panel. I think that's quite nice. These quick commands, we don't really want those, so how can they vanish? What if they were to slide out the way? Maybe we can do that. So they can slide out the way, and it's not going to be last transaction anymore. It's going to be transaction list. So we need to work out a way of changing that. So perhaps what we need to do is, let's copy paste it. So this is, and again, this text is center aligned, it should not be. Transaction, I'm just going to call it transaction list for now. And I'll position that where I want the top to be. And what I might do is just have that fade out to 0 opacity. Because even though it's the same text layer, I think changing what the text says doesn't work. Let's try it, but I don't think it does. I don't think it would do that because it's named after what's there. So let's have a look. It's called transaction. Actually, maybe it will because I've named a layer. This is why it's important to name your layers. I want that to be about 32. Our list is going to come up. And this is where the mask needs to open, and our repeat grid needs to become scroll group. So I'm just going to turn that on from now. That's pretty good. Then we could have this button, we could have this disappear. We might not need it. So again, this could kind of bow out and just go down there. Because everything's in a group, that's why I can put things off of the artboard and it still knows that it's part of this screen and it's not just being dumped on the pasteboard. And that actually will give me some more space for our transactions if I have some more. Let's see, yeah, we do have a couple more. So let me just adjust this mask. Okay, let's see what that looks like when we animate it. So I want to go from our view all transactions button. We're going to click on that. We're going to go to this screen. Obviously our back button's already there, so that will take us back. Moment of truth. Let's see what happens. Alright, we've got it up here. Click. Okay, interesting. I'm not sure I like the secondary commands going off to the side. And the text transaction list changed straight away. What else? I think the balance moving up and the button moving out was quite nice. but it is just these secondary ones that weren't really that nice, if I'm honest. So the buttons and the transaction list title, they need a little bit of work. So let's go back into design mode, and what we could do is, instead of them going off to the side, perhaps they could, perhaps they can come up here, get smaller, and disappear. Let's see, I'm not too sure. Again, a lot of this is trial and error, so let's make it really teeny tiny, 0% opacity, transparency. Okay, transaction list we know needs to be different, so what I'll do, let me just copy that old one back. We'll call this one list, paste that to where it was going to be. I wonder if we can just fade it out. Let's see what happens. And then this one will need to fade in. So let's paste that one in there. I think that might be a bit messy. Let's see. Okay, click the button. Not sure. I think the small icons disappearing, it's okay. Yeah, I don't love it, but because I'd rather they just disappear. So maybe I just put them straight down to 0%. Then what else did we have going on? The last transaction title. Yeah, that wasn't very nice. I think what we'll do with that is, let's see. Maybe we keep, we can't keep the title the same. It doesn't really make sense. But it could just say transaction. No, it doesn't make sense. Last transaction. I do want it to say transaction list, but that's an idea. Maybe I group them together and fade one in and fade one out. Interesting. Okay, let me bring this one back up. So they're together. Yeah. Like that. If I group them, I'm going to call it transaction title heading. I'll go with heading. And I'll put this one on 0%. And then what we do is, when we get to here, we fade out last transaction and fade in transaction list, like that, and bring it up to the top as though it's kind of changing with us. That could work. Let's try it out. So here we go. Click the button. I think that was okay. If the transaction is a bit quicker, actually, I think the timing on this one is a little slow. Let's see, 2. Yeah, let's set it to 1. Because then you kind of notice it less. quite nice. So the only thing slightly that needs maybe a bit of an edit is those secondary buttons that we have going on. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. So maybe I just need to come back to that at another point. I need to have a think about how to get those to transition in just a nice way. Because this screen, I really want it to be just about the transactions, focused for the user. Whereas this screen, I want them to be able to take an action for their card or account. So yeah, need to have a little think. And then maybe we have a button on there that is for like reporting a suspicious transaction. So let's start here because we need it to animate from here. Put it off the board, and I'm going to say report charge. Excuse me. Yeah, I think report charge works. And I'll put that down to 0, copy that. Let's paste it. It's not what I wanted you to paste, but okay. Strange. It's in the panel group, so why is it, I'm going to call it report button. That's quite odd. Anyways, that needs to be 32 from the bottom, so let's just go ahead and put it in here. Go to the edge, up, 1, 2. That's going to be overlapping, yep. So then what I need to do here is change our mask and adjust our scroll group. Okay. Let's see what that switchover looks like. It might be too messy, I don't know. Okay, that wasn't too bad. Looks like the button's kind of swapping over. Maybe it should change color. Let's think, let's have one more look. Or what I could do to help with the timings of it is just bring it further away. That kind of works. Bring that down a bit more. Yeah, I kind of like it. It's kind of like a bounce a little bit. So the only thing I really need to think about is where these buttons go. Because I don't like that they're zooming off into the background. It's quite strange. Maybe they... No, it can't do a color change with auto-animation. That would have been cool if I could have... Well, that's the same as transparency anyway. I was thinking it would be cool if they could have changed from white to the same as this kind of dark, like midnight shade that we have here. So that they kind of just fade away and they're being covered up. This feels like a bit of a hacky way to do it, but what if I covered them up? Oh, This doesn't feel right. What if I covered them up with a panel? So let's copy both of those. Put them both in here. They're not one eye through from the edge, are they? Oh, they are. Okay. So we do that. And then what I'm going to do is just bring that up to cover them. But they need to be at the back, and I'm going to delete those teeny tiny ones. Yeah, that works. Hopefully. We'll see. Actions, and then this is going to go here. Oh, I hope this doesn't look too messy. Oh, that was horrible. I don't like that one bit. That did not work how I thought it was going to work in my mind. Okay, nope. We're not doing that. I'll have to work out another way to hide these options. Unless I do just keep them. I didn't want to show so much information on a screen. That's why I kind of wanted to get rid of them. Sliding off to the side really didn't work that nicely. Even if it did go transparent. It's not the worst thing. Maybe I'll leave it like that for now. What I'll do is move them quite far away from the artboard, because that means it has to move a longer space, a further space in the same short time. So that means it should move quicker. Whereas if it was moving from, let me try and do this, if it was moving from here to here, it would move quite slowly in the 1 second. But if it's moving from here to here in the 1 second, it's going to go a lot quicker. So hopefully this helps show what I mean. See, they went that bit quicker. If I wanted them to go away quicker, I just move them further away from the artboard. I think I'm quite happy with this. So the final thing to do, which is also really fun. Okay, I don't need these anymore. These can go. I want to spin our card around like in my original animation. So, where have all those artboards gone? So you'll see I had the front of the card and the back of the card. And this is because I had just drawn vector graphics of both. But I'm really interested to see how this could work in with Glassmorphism. So I'm just going to work off artboard for a little bit. Just work on the pasteboard space. I'm going to give myself a black background so I can see everything. And I'm going to lock it so that I don't, before I lock it, send it to the back. So I can see my glass card. It's pretty good size-wise. So I'm going to copy the shape. Then I need to make this silver stripe, so strip, magnetic strip. I'm not going to have a border. Let's try and copy that fill colour. Pretty much, it's pretty good. So 34, so from the top. It's going to be interesting. I don't know what this is going to do. So it's almost like an extra layer. Well, that's kind of cool. Okay, let's keep going. I think that is the same height, right? Yes. And it is 24, so oof. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is going to come in from the edges. Maybe we'll even draw a fake signature on there. That could be fun. We need to give it a security number, so let's do that with our Factoria font. Oops, let's make sure I do it the right way around. Actually, the back of the card isn't in that same font, is it? But let's say it is for now, because I think it looks kind of nice. And we're going to move this up here. It's got to be quite small. I'm just going to group those. And let's have a go, I don't know, at drawing a signature. That's going to be too difficult with a pen. What we need is kind of like a pencil tool. Haha. I have a plugin for that. One of my favorites is Whiteboard, which I won't go into the details of it now. I did cover it in my Adobe Max lab, so if you didn't join for that, definitely go and watch the replays. It was lab number 6523, so you can just search for that on the recordings and you'll see I did 3 videos. In the first video, I think it's called part A or part 1, that's where I cover this plugin, so go and check that out. But it also has this function to start drawing. So let me draw on top of our card here. Let's do it in this beautiful pink colour. You know my brand is all about that pink. And let's just write our name. I'm doing this with a finger and a trackpad, so forgive me, it's not beautiful, but it's okay. We can change, okay, we can't change the thickness after the point. However, if I click done, it's going to insert that for me as a path. It's a path now, so I can edit it. So it's almost like it's giving me the pencil tool. So I can change the thickness here. I can also change the colour. I could stretch it out. That's kind of weird. What's that doing? That's responsive resize, messing it up. Yeah, I could stretch it out. I could do lots of things. So yeah, that will be our signature for our card. We went off the strip, so let's see if I can make it stay within the strip. I'm really bad at staying within that space. My signature, even in real life, is really very curly. It's just what my handwriting can be like. So let's group that together. Interesting. So let's put a background blur on this, a background blur on that. I don't know how it's going to turn out. I'm kind of excited actually. Let's group everything together now, and in our layers we're going to call it Forex card. I'll call it Forex card back or back at Forex card. No, Forex card back. Stiff neck. Excuse the cricks and the cracks. So what we're going to do now is turn on 3D transform. Dun, dun, dun. And I'm going to flip this around like a full 180. And I'm wondering what happens when I put this card on top. Oh, I think this is going to work beautifully. Oh, I am so excited. Okay, so they're 2 separate groups. Oh my goodness. I'm so excited. So I'm just going to duplicate that. So you've got both of them here, as you can see my little pink signature. And with this one, I'm going to use 3D rotate. I did just group those together, didn't I? No? Okay. Actually, I don't want the two grouped together. I need them to both. Okay, no. This is what you gotta do. It took me some time to do this the first time, so I'm trying to remember it now. So you take the first front of the card, and obviously we want that to spin around. So now we're gonna see the back of it. And that needs to be 180, yeah. Then we're gonna click on the back of the card for this one. And we also want that to flip. Yeah, so let's turn that off so we can see what we're doing. We also want this to flip 180. However, you'll notice this card is still, the front of the card is still at the front. And that is because we need to also change the Z-axis. Axes. Why do I struggle with that word today? So we need to change the Z. And let me find where it is. Refresh my memory. So before we had our blue card and we had our regular back of the card. So it just needs a difference of 1 on the Z. So let's give it a go. So they're both currently set to 0. So for the back to come to the front, we need to set it to 1. This is very exciting. And then, do we need to push that one back when it's at the front? So this was at 40, that was at 39. The back of the card here is set at 40, and that is 39. So they just swap. Right, so for this one, this would be 1. Okay, the exciting part, I'm going to put this on our prototype. Get rid of that one. Make sure I've got both layers selected. Put it up here. Ooh, I'm so excited. Gonna delete all these things we don't need anymore. Get that out of the way. And what I'll do is duplicate this artboard. So Command D or Control D on a PC. And in fact, what we could do, instead of pasting it in, I'm going to select the card. I'm going to send it to 0. And I'm going to get it to rotate -180. So I'm just going to type that so it's precise. And we want the back of the card to come forward. So we put 1 on the Z. And we need to put 0 on the rotation so it rotates back that way. Okay, here comes the fun part. If we click on here, we want to go over here. And if we click on here, we want to go over here. Ooh! I really have my hopes up for this, that it works as well as it did on the last one. Let's see. Oh! XD. Amazing. I love it. That is so nice. Oh, amazing. So there we go. That's kind of the last thing I really wanted to do for this. I'll go ahead and apply that to all of the screens afterwards. But let's have a final run through of this Glassmorphism Pocket app. We can select a card. Amazing. We can go back. We can go to our Forex card. Was it not Forex that we did this on? It was Forex. Why is it suddenly... Oh, you see what I did there? You see what I did? I made a duplicate. So, this link that goes here needs to go here. And this link that goes there needs to come from this button now. Just so I don't have to redo everything. Let's delete that. Okay, so this is our Forex screens. I'm just going to put them all in a row so I know what's where. I keep leaning into my laptop. I need to stop doing it. This is why my neck is getting sore. Okay, so let's go again from the top, and then we'll add one more animation. So we have all of our screens there. Let's go. So nice. So nicely done. Forex. Let's do it. Spin. Spin. And view all transactions. Not bad, right? Not bad. So there's a few little niggles there that I will work out in the background. I think when we went from here, the card didn't fully animate up to there. So that means that the layers aren't named the same. So this should be called 452. And this is why naming your layers is so important. Don't use the random group numbers. It's so easy to get lost in them. Honestly, I do it all the time, and if I'm doing it, I'm sure a lot of people are doing it. So there we go. That should now have fixed that weirdness. Yeah, and the back of the card is appearing out of nowhere because we didn't have that on any artboard before. So what we need to do is, how do I want the back of the card to be involved? Let's put it over there, but make it transparent. So I'm going to have to do all of these same settings. I wish you could copy and paste the 3D transforms the same way you can copy and paste appearance. That would be really clever. That would be some clever stuff. But we can't do that. So what I'll do is paste it in for now. It obviously needs to be flipped around 180. And it needs to be the right height and the right size and everything else. Okay, how squiffed is this card? It's this one, right? Yeah. So I'm not worried about the Z, like it can stay far in the background. It's the angles that I want to apply. So -29 up here. And I think that's it really. Let's just make it. So maybe for this it needs to be +29. Because that seems to have gone, there we go, it seems to have gone the wrong way. We've got it now, we've got it. If I just turn off that one. Yeah, you can't really see it, so just so you know what's happened. it's bring it down here so you can see. It's just twisted it to be the same angle as this one in the front, so that when we do the Auto-Animate, it doesn't just kind of weirdly float in and appear. So if we click on that, oh, it does do something extra weird. Why is that? It's inside the group. 455. See, sometimes you just have to problem solve. 455. And it's still got the same name. It's still called Forex Card Back. Maybe the ordering, maybe I need to put it underneath. Let's see. Not too sure why that went kind of funny. See, because it goes off the screen and it comes back in. I'm going to have to look at why it does that. I feel like that's going to take some more investigation. But the last animation I want to add is our dragging across the top. So if I'm on Forex and I want to drag to view my gold card, which is this one here, I'm going to select the gold card, drag it onto the gold card screen. I'm going to select the drag trigger and I'm going to let it auto-animate. I'm going to do the same here. So for nest egg, it's going to drag and go to nest egg, and for Adobe Bank, it's going to drag and go there. That spacing looks wrong. It is wrong. That's supposed to be 20 in between the cards, isn't it? Yes. 26. How did that happen? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wait, what? That's 32 now. I'm confused. What have I done? 20. So that should say 22. Okay, there we go. Make the cap smaller, not bigger. Duh. Alright. 1, 2. Let's double check. 20. Yep. Lovely. 20. Lovely. Lovely jubbly. Okay, where did we get to? We did that one, and then let's go backwards. So nest egg, if we drag it, is going to go to nest egg. Gold card, if we drag, will go to gold card. And Forex, if we drag, will go to Forex. So let's play it from here. Click on our Adobe Bank card. We'll swipe. Now, obviously, there's some naming issues there because we've seen the panel, the data changes, but on this one, for example, and this one, they do something very weird. So I'm just going to make sure all of these have the same name. I'm basically going to call it panel on all of my artboards. Paste the name in there. Got to do it everywhere, so let's paste it in there. 3 more. 1, 2, and 3. So now when we swipe between our cards, it should. It's kind of strange that they do that. So there's something different between those, but again, something for me to tinker on in the background. It will be because some things are different, so okay, I've spotted it already. This item here is from my old design, so I need to delete that and make it the same as all the other screens. So, I really hope you've enjoyed sitting and watching along, designing along with me in creating this Glassmorphism pocket wallet app. Let me know what you think of the final outcome and where we've gotten it to. If there was anything that I went over that you're not quite sure about, feel free to message me. I can always help problem solve, and be sure to look out for when I post the final design of our application. Thanks again so much for joining me, and we'll be back for another video very soon. Bye.